Thanks for tuning to Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be talking about The Whispering Dark. I do want to thank the publisher for an ARC of this book. However, it was not one of the best books that I've read this year. There are a lot of things I couldn't get behind when it comes to this book, and a lot of it goes to inconsistencies throughout the book, not just with the storytelling, but also with the characterization. And it was really, really hard for me to really grasp it. One of the biggest inconsistencies with the book is, what is the genre? Nowadays, I don't really think that when we're reading books, we grab them for the synopsis, not really so much for the genre. Yeah, we'll go, some of us like our genre. Like, I love young adults, I'll go to the young adult section. I like sci-fi fantasy, I'll go there. But once we're there, we don't really think of what else could be in the book. Genres are blended all the time in literature to the point where it's just kind of background noise. I don't think it's something we think about. The fact that I was so focused on trying to figure out what genre this book was throughout the entire time that I read it, I think says volumes. As I was reading it, I'm just like, okay, I can't figure out what this book is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be supernatural? Is it supposed to be paranormal? Is it supposed to be romance? Is it supposed to be dark fantasy? Is it supposed to be sci-fi? Is it supposed to be horror? Is it supposed to be mystery thriller? It's just too much happening all at once. And it was very inconsistent with the plot and the story building. And I just couldn't get behind it. Mainly for that reason. I'm reading this book. I'm following Delaney. She's going to this university that specializes or has this claim that, oh yeah, we can open, doorways to multiple universes. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then she can speak to the dead. And I'm like, okay, well, that's also really cool. And then there's also students that go missing and their bodies are found mutilated. And I'm like, oh, all right. Does that connect to that? Like, I'm not really sure, as I was reading it. Like, yes, I know in the grand scope of things they're supposed to connect. But it feels very disconnected as I'm reading it. And then I do applaud the author for making your main character, Delaney, a deaf character. She's going to college because she wants to prove to herself and her family that she's not made of glass. And when she's there, she does struggle a lot because she doesn't, while she sent emails to the TAs saying, yes, I am deaf, none of the teachers seem to know that she's deaf. None of them, which I find a little hard to believe. Our professor is busy sometimes, yes, but then she doesn't want to speak up and say anything. She doesn't want handouts. She wants to be like, oh, well, sometimes it's hard for me to follow. And the teacher's like, well, it's not hard for you to follow right now, so, hurry up. And it's just like, just say you're deaf. There was lots of inconsistencies with her characterization on top of it. She wants to be this kind of tough girl, and yet every morning for Colton Price, she gives him a cup of coffee. And I'm like, why are you giving this dick a cup of coffee every single morning? You say you don't want friends. You say you don't want any handouts or anything. And yet you're trying to suck up to this guy who was kind of a dick to you. And you weren't really that much nicer to him. And so I don't understand their whole dynamic throughout the story. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to be friends now. I'm like, this was, I'm not really feeling this slow burn romance between you two. It didn't jump off the pages. It was kind of just there, and I wasn't really feeling it. And again, that was another disconnect because there's lots of inconsistencies with the characterization. When I'm reading the book, when I was reading this book, I would be reading scenes and I would be questioning who was even talking in the scenes because the characters would sound like completely different characters, and Colton Price is the perfect example of that. In some scenes with some people, he sounds like this sour, dour, angsty kind of guy, and then the other guys, he just kind of, some other scenes he sounds kind of like this uppity jock, and I'm just like, who are you, Colton Price? Because
your characterization is so inconsistent and kind of all over the place, and I really can't connect to you as a character because of that. And the same thing with Delaney. I would be rereading just whole pages just to figure out pages of dialogue, just to figure out, okay, who is talking in this scene, because I don't know. Like, I can't figure it out because the characterization is so inconsistent throughout the narrative. And then, with the genre blending, I love genre blending. It's something I don't even think about until I sit down and do my reviews. But when I was reading this book, it's all I could think about. I just kept constantly questioning, what was this book? And again, that just created a really, really big disconnect between me and the storytelling, because if I'm so focused on this thing that shouldn't really matter, what does that say of the overall storytelling? It was not my favorite book. Unfortunately, I can only give it 1.5 stars out of 5. I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't get behind it. I was just kind of like meh about it. Once again, yeah, thank you to the publisher for giving me an ARC this book, but it was not Kelly Andrews, that's the author. I don't think it was a really strong debut. If this was her debut, it feels like it was a debut. It feels very rough. It feels very like it needs to go back and be rewritten, honestly. There are lots of cool elements, but again, that's another thing that Andrews doesn't do with it. She doesn't follow anything through. Delaney can talk to the dead. Okay. We only get to see that twice in the entire book. This is like her ability, and we see it twice. Colton can open portals to parallel universes, and in the space between the universes, that's where the dead live. And you think that's going to have a really stronger connection throughout the story, and it doesn't until the end with Delaney. But is everything wrapped up at the end? Sure, yeah. But it was just kind of like meh for me. However, my opinion is my own, and you might like it. So, again, lots of cool elements, but she just doesn't do anything for me. I will include links in the description below on where you can purchase the book if you so desire. And on that note, I hope you all continue to support me here by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing your authority book with your friends. You can also become a supporter on Buy Me Coffee, Ko-fi, Patreon, or any of my social media platforms. Once again, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading!